Thanks everyone for coming along tonight. It's still kind of winter out there, and if you've got a bright idea and you're kind of working on it, then I know what it's like where you want to spend every moment, and so it's great to come along here. So before I talk about my story, and I'll kind of give some ideas around the to try to keep in theme on some of the go-to-market strategies that we use, I just want to ask a couple of questions, and so first of all, can I get everyone to put their right arm up, just up in the air like this? And you can kind of look around. I'm going to ask just kind of a demographic question. So, of your put your right arm down if your bright idea is a web-based business. Okay, cool. So that's almost most of the room are doing a web-based business. So other kind of software, computer software related business. Okay, what about a physical product? Put your arm down if you're doing a physical product. Okay, so there's one more. So I'm guessing you're doing some kind of service or something like that. You don't have to tell everyone. You can keep it secret. So, okay, that's cool. So put your arms back up. One left arm this time. And so one more question. So if you think of the people who are going to either buy or use your product, so there's two kinds of. There's two kinds of customer. You either got like a consumer, you can imagine that Google or Facebook, that a consumer is their customer, or you've got an enterprise or business. So I mean, like if you sell photocopiers, then your business is. So put your left arm up and put your left arm down if your target customer is a consumer. It's just a single person. Okay, so that's most of the people, probably a third of the people are looking at selling to businesses. Cool. And I'm just trying to get an idea of a demographic, and I'll target things. So what they've asked is that I come along and talk about our story. So I'll do that first of all. So if you think about what you were doing 3 years ago, so it's 2011 now, September. So 3 years ago in 2008. Some colleagues and I here in Wellington, we'd started an online business selling to kind of consumers at $10 a month. We had a online project management system, and we'd found out that our website was really slow, and so what we did is we invented some ways of speeding it up, and we got our website load time. Well, kind of the story was we were just before launching. And we found that our site was fast from Wellington, but I emailed some people, with a beta login from Melbourne and said, try our site. And they said, it's slow, it's like 8 seconds to load. And then like around the world, like you go to the West Coast or East Coast US, from New York, our website was 30 seconds to load, like people clicking on it. And that's not uncommon for New Zealand sites. So we, instead of kind of moving our hosting overseas or screaming at the broadband providers or complaining loudly or anything, we just kind of tinkered around and we sort of figured, well, how about we try like reducing the size of all our images, and then suddenly it like sped up by 5 seconds, and then we said, well, we'll try merging all the files together into fewer files. So we tried all these kind of best practice techniques, but we did it through like a piece of software that we wrote that automated those techniques, and we got the load time of our website down from 30 seconds down to 4 seconds. And kind of stupidly we thought, well, that's a competitive advantage because we're faster than anyone else. But what we didn't realise was that the thing that sped up our own website was probably going to be a lot more commercially viable than the original website itself. But so 3 years ago we kind of made that realisation, and we changed the business around and renamed ourselves Aptimize. And Aptimize kind of launched in 2008, just when the global markets all fell to pieces. And at that point there we raised a little bit of money from New Zealand investors, and we did that in kind of like March 2009, and we started selling our software that speeds up websites, and we done it totally from Wellington. So we grew to kind of like 10 people, and just down in just off Courtney Place, and in the sort of last 2 years we've using some of the go-to-market techniques that Murray was talking about. We've sold to some pretty big names. So Microsoft runs our stuff on Microsoft.com. We sold licenses to Google and to Disney and to the US Army and to Trade Me here in Wellington. So that's been really cool. And then 6 weeks ago, we just sold our company to a San Francisco-based outfit called Riverbed, who are based in downtown San Francisco. And so that transaction occurred 6 weeks ago, which is also very cool. And we kind of talked to them and said, well, how that happened is that we started talking to some bigger companies. We got talking to Riverbed and realised that we had very similar goals, and they could help us grow out the distribution of our stuff. And our team was really quite keen to actually spend some time in Silicon Valley. So we sell the company, and also our team moves over to Silicon Valley and gets to work over there. So everyone's pretty excited about that, and we're just going through that visa process at the moment. So that's kind of our story, and I guess it's like the major sort of meaty part of the story is about sort of 2 years of growth and then sale. But also quite an important thing, and there's a lot of people blogging about what they call the pivot at the moment, where you change your business around, and that's certainly something we did. And as I think back to it, I think it's quite important to actually do what you guys are doing here, which is to get started with a business idea, just start trying things, and then you end up often changing the way that everything works and becoming more successful from that. Okay, so that's my story, but I just wanted to talk about some of our go-to-market, because has anyone here sold any units of what you've got yet? So we have? Okay, so keep your hands up. Have you sold more than 10? Keep your hands up. Okay, we've got a couple here. Can I ask what you sell?
Patisserie and confectionery.
Confectionery, okay, cool. Like chocolate bars and things?
No, I don't actually do chocolate.
Oh, okay.
That's a chocolatier, but broad sweets, fudges,
Okay.
toffees,
Awesome.
and also patisserie, so like lamingtons, cupcakes, macaroons.
Yeah. And what have you?
Kiwi corner connector.
Kiwi corner connector.
Yeah, plastic moulding that fits on the ends of 100 by 25 tins.
Okay, cool.
And when stacked up, forms a compost bin or wood box or
Okay.
garden planter or anything like that.
Well, that sounds cool, and I can see. So I know for us and for a lot of companies, you have that first problem of how do you sell your first units, and for a lot of startups, I really think so. Here's what we did, and this will work for a lot of you. For starters, when you create a startup, you realise that you've got two kinds of friends from your old life. You've got two kinds of friends. You've got people who buy your product and people who don't. It's really as simple as that. And that all of your old friends, like, you used to have a job, now you don't have a job anymore because you're doing this whole startup thing, and then you go and you talk to them and say, Murray, hey, I've got this thing, do you want to try buying it? And then he'll throw a whole bunch of excuses at you and everything else and that kind of stuff. He's not your friend anymore. You actually get rid of him. You haven't got time because you're so focused. And then you find you've got other people who will believe in you, and they'll go out and buy your stuff, and those are your friends that you want to keep. and it's really as simple as that. Two kinds of friends, and the first sales that you make are not going to be to strangers. Strangers aren't going to trust your stuff. They're going to be to your friends who believe in you, people who will actually fork out, because you'll heavily discount whatever you. I mean, I imagine for your first Kiwi corners that you sold, you probably discounted them to people.
Not too much.
Most people do though. I mean you do to make that sale, because you want to have a customer. You want to have your first customer, and you'll make them from. They need to be in your Rolodex, so you should be, and you should be going through your Rolodex now, or contact list or whatever, and identifying who those folks are, and you go and talk to them. Because if you can't get your friends to buy your stuff, then how can you expect complete strangers to? For your first sales as well, that the stuff around distribution models and resellers and everything else, I think forget about it. You're doing those first sales, like once you get to the problem where you're selling too many and you need to get distribution, that's a great problem to have. But just to get your stuff off the ground, you need to go out and just talk to people, and you need to go and there's no one who can sell it as good as the entrepreneur. So what we did is when we launched, our product, first product, like just under 3 years ago, I just went and talked to a number of companies, people I knew, and just asked them to use it. Just kept asking them to use it, pointing out how slow their website was, pointing out how we can fix them, discounting to them to get those sales, but just doing anything you can. And you sell by pure willpower. Because, they know what you are. They know. You can go in there and you can pretend that, hey, we've got this, we're a big company, got all these customers and everything else. They know you're not. They know you're a startup, that, you are their first or second or third customer. But people will forgive that, and people will, they kind of like seeing the energy, they like seeing the hustle, the everything else that you do. So really, those first sales that you do, it's about finding, like for the confectionery business, it's about finding some outlet you can go along to that will just let you sell your stuff. Because you're probably not going to get into New World from day one, because they're going to look at you and, there's a whole lot of logistics and, you've got to have your end caps and all the marketing plans and everything else and go, no. But it's about finding some school fair that will let you go along and donate 20% to them or 30%. And for your Kiwi corners, it's about, again, finding some small way that you can get that into market. Because once you actually have some kind of viability, like you can prove that 1 or 2 people will buy your stuff, then suddenly you can look for ways to find 5 or 10 people to buy your stuff, and that's kind of a different problem. But getting those first ones, I think, is really important. Another thing that I probably disagree with Murray about is the customer validation. I think that's really true if you're telecom and you're creating things and you actually have got a big distribution channel. So you've got a scale problem there. You've got a how can I get something out to scale? But for that first, if you think of where you are now, you've got nothing else but a vision, right? Well, and maybe some corners and some candy bars, but for a lot of you, you've just got a vision and you've got some bits that you kind of worked on, and so really that's what's got to fuel you, and you can't go and do customer validation at the moment. You've actually just got to believe in that vision. You've got to believe in that vision, bring that to market in some way that you can sell it. Don't worry about too much. If you're doing web-based or software businesses, don't worry too much about having all the billing systems and everything else set up on day one. Just figure out some way that you can get it into people's hands, just sign them up over email and charge their credit card through your bank or something like that, but just find some way to do that. One thing which a lot of people make the mistake, actually two things a lot of people make the mistake of, they think that people are going to care about what they've got. The world doesn't care. Like, I don't give 2 hoots about what you guys have got at the moment, what you're bringing to market. I lived my whole life without Kiwi corners. I've already got chocolate bars that I enjoy eating. I guarantee everyone else in this room, I don't really want to buy your stuff, right? It's like when I go into the supermarket at the moment, I don't really want to go and buy a new toothbrush or anything else. I don't like spending money. In fact, that's the exact opposite problem that I've got. I want to save money, right? So the world doesn't care about your idea, and that's just a stark reality. Don't get depressed about it, just understand that and go, okay, that's the parameters that I'm working in. And what's more, every other business in the world, in this country, in the city and everything else, they don't want you to be in business because you're going to take their customers away. Like for those of you who are selling to consumers, every $10 they spend on your product means $10 less that they're buying on his Kiwi corners or your boiled candies. So other businesses don't want you in business. Consumers don't really want to spend any more money. They want to kind of save their money, especially in these economic times. Businesses don't want to spend any more money as well. So it is tough out there, so you have to recognise it. But that won't stop you from succeeding. Because what keeps you going is that pure willpower to make those first sales, to go in there, to work out what people will buy, get your friends involved. Take a leaf out of what Murray was talking about and say, well, tell me what you liked about it, where that value was. Tell me who else you could recommend to use it, and keep pushing through things that way. Here's one of the important rules. This is something I learned from, we had our online project management system, then we moved to selling this thing that speeds up the web. The online project management system, we were selling that at $10 per user per month to small businesses, small companies. Small businesses don't like spending money. Consumers don't like spending money. If you've got a web-based business aimed at consumers or advertising or something else, really, really tough. They don't like spending money. On the web, there's two kinds of prices. There's free and everything else. And I know that myself, if I look at any kind of service that costs money, I kind of go, well, I'll look around for something else that's free. And then you can look at the advertising. One of the other models is to use advertising to try to generate revenue from that. Well, guess what? I mean, no one's telling you this. The Google AdWords folks aren't telling you this, but the amount of money people are making from advertising is dropping tremendously. Because I don't click on banner ads. Does anyone else? So it's that's the kind of the dirty little secret that we all kind of know. So the one kind of market that will buy your stuff is businesses. So Murray, you used to work for Telecom and for Alcatel-Lucent, right? So do they spend money on things?
Yes, lots of money.
And then if you look at your creative HQ people, like sitting there in Manor Street, do they spend money on things for their business?
They buy the free ads.
Yeah, they will. They'll buy the free ads. It's just kind of common sense. You know that you can sell, if you've got something, whatever that thing is, that sells, if you're selling into Telecom or you're selling it into Fonterra or you're sending it to some business that itself is looking to reduce costs, but they've got money, they've got budgets for things, and that's what we did. Enterprises, businesses spend money. Bigger businesses, enterprises spend money. Little guys don't spend money. It's just kind of the reality of the world that we live in. And no one clicks on banner ads, so don't expect ads to make you rich. Okay, so for all of that, that's just any kind of guy who's done a startup and has been successful, we'll all give you our own kind of 2 cents worth. Your own mileage will vary, and you may be successful doing exactly the opposite of the things that I've talked about here. But I think you can see that there is some common sense in there that businesses buy stuff. Certainly look to your friends to make those first sales. Cool, that's really all I've got to say. If there's any questions, happy to take it. Sure, Murray.
I thought I deserved it after all that, basically. I don't know what I was talking about, you know. Hey, Ed,
do you want to go and dissect your slides and
and represent? Yeah, no, it's fine. I was thinking about what it cost you to sell to a big guy compared with what it cost to sell to a whole bunch of little guys. Can you got some comments on that for people?
Yeah, okay, so if you look at, first of all, if you look at sales, so let's suppose that you've got something that you sell for $10 versus something that you sell for $10,000. And obviously there's more complexity in making a $10,000 thing than $10. But if you want to make $100,000 a month, you only have to sell 10 of those 10,000 things. And if you versus you have to spend you have to sell 10,000 of the $10 unit. So it is easier to make those bigger chunks. And unless you've got an enormous sales force, because the reality is that if you've got web-based businesses, people don't buy things anonymously. People always want to talk before they buy. They always want to engage with a salesperson or email you or have some kind of human contact. It's because people buy from people. Car salesmen know that. When you walk into a car lot, they don't just let you go and select the car. They're out there talking to you and engaging and everything else. So that's why they're kind of the bigger items. In terms of cost of sale, I think you can do a lot remotely. We did almost everything remotely. It does take you longer, that's all. Bigger companies have longer sales cycles because they have to go through purchase orders and bits and pieces like that.
Do big
Hi.
companies require more willing than smaller companies? They feel like they will be one and done because they're going to give you more business?
I don't think so. I think one thing that Aptimize did, and we kept a lot of things in balance. We made sure our R&D we're investing in that, and our marketing, we're doing a good job of that, and also our sales as well. But we also never hid what we were. Like we would go to when some of the bigger companies would talk to us, some of the bigger US companies, and just say, hey, look, we're just 10 people. So what that means to you is that we're going to try harder, and we're going to put more effort into keeping you happy and everything else. What you do find, depending on the kind of business that you've got, is that you'll have a big customer and with a big sale, and they'll want one thing that you don't have already. So if you've got confectionery, they might want like the chocolate covered one, and then New World will buy 1,000 units of it, or 10,000 units. For your Kiwi Corners, the Bunnings warehouse may want them in a certain colour, so it matches up with everything else. So the big folks will do that, and you tend to bend over for it. Tend to just do everything that you can to please them. It's an important sale as well. But I think I can't get beyond thinking, as you bring your stuff to market, think about who your first 10 customers are going to be and how you'll get those. And don't expect that they're going to magically come in from anywhere that you don't, anyone anonymous. It's going to be people that you know. That's the surest way of doing it. Just think about who those 10 customers will be, and maybe it's a friend, maybe it's somebody that you know has got a connection somewhere else that will get you in the door. But those first 10 are key. Hi.
I was just wondering your thoughts on so you're kind of getting the vibe that you're like, just get in there and do it, just ride this passion you've got, and just try and contrast this, I guess, in a more planned out way. The latter of your way seems to fit me at this moment with this drive that I've got, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say, based on, say I've got to make these Apple iPhone products, so I've got all these Objective-C books and programming, teaching myself how to program all that.
Yeah.
And basically, like, I might get told, hire someone else just to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know. And by the way, there's something else as well. I reckon it used to be, so I'll just randomly go off on a tangent here, okay, just for a second.
Sweet.
Okay. It used to be like 10 years ago that people would do two things when they were doing their new Apple iPhone, or not, with any kind of software products. Number one, they'd slap some secrecy on it and not tell anyone, because you're scared anyone else will steal your ideas. Number two, you'll be in beta for a long time. And my kind of, my feelings on that is, one, you want to tell the world what you're doing. Anyone who'll listen, because no one wants to steal your stuff, really. Well, if they can, then they're going to steal it afterwards, Number two, don't go to beta, or just do the shortest beta that you can and get out there and sell it as much as you can. So, should you do it yourself, or do it or hire someone else to do it? I mean, you're always going to do a better job yourself. You just have your own passion in there, and your time costs nothing, right? I mean, you got another job, you're doing the nights and weekends. That's what it's all about, and really, it's all about hard work and getting in there and doing it. I guess there's some other things. So that then means that you own the IP, so that you're not, it doesn't belong in someone else's head at the moment. It's in your head. So I'll definitely do that if you can. Cool. Another one at the back.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your experience finding the right price point for your product?
Finding the right price point.
Yeah, did you increase it, decrease it? How did you?
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. Yeah, we started off selling. I'll just talk about average price, okay? So we started off selling our stuff. I'll just talk in US dollars. We started off selling our stuff at about average sale of about $1,000, $1,000 US dollars. And then I think we increased it, and I think our average sale was like getting close to 50,000 US. And so we never did hundreds of sales a month. We were kind of doing tens.
Increase it from 1,000 to 50,000?
Sorry, $1,000 to $50,000, like that. There's a graph that goes up. Pricing is a black art. Like it's really it's if you talk to anyone. If you talk to anyone, like, I mean, I don't know exactly what you've got in terms of what you're trying to sell, and usually you have to be driven by what the customer will spend, and then there's tons of thinking on that. But it really is a black art. For our stuff, we didn't know what it was worth, and we priced it at one point. We ended up changing it slightly, so we're offering more services, more support with it, and everything else. So we increased to average sale of sort of $25,000 up to $50,000. So at the back, yeah.
Yeah, just also to kind of get some clarification on price.
What
Did
kind of
you
what kind
ever-
of what
did
kind
you
of thing do you
advertise-
have?
I'm sorry. Well, ours is a consumer product, but I've worked in B2B business before, and we never advertise price. We always strive to get the highest amount of money out of any client. So every client was a new. We try to gauge what the purchase level is, and then pitch high and try to always get a higher price. So did you ever advertise your prices, or was it something that you took on a per deal basis?
Yeah, that's a good
Fine.
question. Like, do you advertise your prices, or depends what you do? You know, there's a lot of different ways of doing that. The challenge these days is that if you sell a lot of units, everyone knows what your price is because they talk about it on the internet. You can't hide it these days. And if you're working internationally as well, you need to have some kind of transparency, because you'll deal with multinationals they'll be buying in different areas, and also customers also are wary of this too, and they'll email pretending to be someone else and ask what your prices are. So I think it's always good, especially if you want to scale out, sell through resellers, sell bigger amounts to be able to set your prices. But don't be afraid to change them. We did quite a lot.
Do you think that starting at 1,000 and then affected, like, hang on, sorry, I had it for.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have made those sales initially had you started off at 50 grand?
So the question is, if we'd started off at 50 grand, would they made those sales to begin with?
Or did your business kind of, or the market kind of grow?
Yeah, I mean,
as you did?
that's a really good question. So I don't think we would have made those sales at 50 grand to begin with, because the market grew. Our product itself, when you look at the first version, was kind of rudimentary, even though we thought it was the best thing ever. And so we grew up the capabilities of everything else and went there. But I think that's the same with everything. You look back and yeah.
Okay, folks, we'll probably have to wrap it up.
Cool.
Now, but, one thing I'd like to say is, during the wrap up, if anyone's got a desperate question, they might be able to grab either of before we go. So, Ed Robertson, Aptimize, Wellington Business Hero,